Hi, I'm Amy Romeo and welcome to my 12 Days of Christmas Crafts event where I'm sharing a brand new holiday themed faux leather craft for your Cricut every day for 12 days. Today's project is these really cute retro car ornaments, and I'm going to show you how to personalize them with your desired text. This is the same design, just cut from different colors and pressed onto a different color of faux leather, and I'll show you how to get the SVG file for this project in just a moment. But first, let's talk about the tools and materials we'll be using. So I'll be using my Cricut Maker today, but you can use any of the current Cricut machines because they all cut faux leather with the standard fine point blade. The faux leather that I'm using some pretty prints, but you can use solids or any print or pattern you'd like. And then I used the pretty print on the front, and I just cut some solid white for the back. We have some ribbon accents, and then we have some different colors of heat transfer vinyl. I've combined some glitter along with some solids just for some interest and some pops of color. To press the heat transfer vinyl onto the faux leather, I'll be using my Easy Press Mini, but you can use a regular Easy Press or a traditional heat press if that's what you have. I also will be using my little heat pressing pad to protect my surface and a cover sheet. This is a Teflon sheet that I've trimmed down to a smaller size, but you could use butcher paper or parchment paper. I have a weeding tool, some blue painter's tape. This is going to help us get good cuts on our purple strong grit mat when we're cutting our faux leather. I have some curved scissors, which are great for cutting out the little holes if necessary, if the Cricut doesn't cut them all the way through. And then we're going to glue the front and the back pieces of faux leather together to create the ornament, and I'm going to be using some Beacon Fabri-Tac for that. So let me show you how to get the SVG file for this project. We'll hop into Design Space. I'll show you how to personalize these with a name, and then we will start to make our project. To get the SVG files for this project, visit amyromeo.com/Christmas24, or you could upgrade to the event VIP pass where you'll get instant access to all the event projects and tutorials, plus a workbook, some bonuses, and more. Starting with a blank canvas in Cricut Design Space, you'll click on Upload, and then Upload Image, and you'll browse to where the unzipped SVG file for this project is saved to your device. Click on it to select it, and then click Open. You'll see a preview of the shapes here. Click Continue, and then Upload. So as I mentioned, these are the exact same design. I've just colored them in two different ways for you to give you an example, but you only need to cut one of these. So I'm going to first ungroup all of my layers just by clicking the Ungroup button here so that I can go ahead and delete one of them off of my canvas. Now the two circle shapes here on the bottom, those will both cut from faux leather. As I mentioned, you can cut them both from the same print or pattern, or you could cut the back just a solid plain color, and then the front can be more decorative if that's what you'd like. These will cut on the purple strong grit mat, and everything else that's heat transfer vinyl will cut on the green standard grit mat. So just a few things here. We have quite a few layers of our heat transfer vinyl, and let me just show you a couple of them here. So there's the little hubs for the tires. We have a tire layer here. We have a little white layer in the middle for the center of the tires, 2 layers for the trees, and then lots of different colors for the ornaments. So this will be really fun for you to figure out what colors you want to use. What I want to show you is how to personalize your ornament here with a name. So to do that, we're going to click on the text tool, and that's going to open up a little block of default text for us. And if we go up here to the font picker, we can see that this is Cricut Sans, and that's a font that's available in Design Space for everyone. It's not something you need to purchase. So if that's the font that you want to use, then you can go ahead and write out your text. But before we do that, let me just show you a few things about the font selector here. So if you're on the Cricut tab, that's going to show any fonts that Cricut gives you for free, like the Cricut Sans, or any fonts that you can purchase. Or if you're an Access member, you'll see fonts that are included with your membership here as well. Now here, if you click on System, you'll see fonts that are on your system that you have downloaded to your particular device. So the one that I want to use and the one that I used for the samples, it's kind of a groovy retro font. It's called Keep on Truckin', and that is free from defont.com, and I will leave a link to it for you. But I already have it on my device, so I'm just typing the name and then it pops up. So I'll click on it to select it. You can see here that it changed my text for me. And then I just need to close out this window. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is type on my little text block, and I'm going to type my name. And it's black text right now, but that doesn't matter. We can cut it from whatever color we'd like. What we're going to do is get it up here closer to underneath our car and drag it a little smaller. Now, if you like it like that, where it's straight across, perfectly horizontal, you can cut it like that. Some other adjustments you can make, you can space your letters apart a little just by clicking on this letter space, this top arrow. The down arrow will bring your letters closer together. But what I want to show you how to do is use curve. So I've selected my text, clicking on curve, and you can see we have two directions we can curve our text. Down, which we want to do because that curves with our circle, or you could curve up. So let's just drag our little slider a little bit, and you could see as I do that, we can see the angle of the curve. Let me let go there. Let me try that again. Let's see. There we go. That's making it a little more extreme. You can see that. So you'll just want to play with that slider and drag that around until you get it where you like it. And then once it's curved, sometimes it moves the letters apart. So you can always go back up here to letter space and move those letters together again a little bit. And let's see, I'm going to make that font just a little bit smaller. And that's good. So now I want to cut this from the same blue as my little hubcaps. So I'll click up here on my color picker and just choose that same color. And that way I can cut both of those heat transfer vinyls together. Okay, so I'll go ahead and click the Make It button. We're cutting our materials on a mat. And the first thing we want to do is go through and mirror each mat because faux leather and heat transfer vinyl both cut in reverse. Then once I've mirrored all of my mats, I want to just go through and I like to drag my little cut shapes away from the edges of the mat so it's easier when I need to cut them and weed them. I have a little more sort of extra clear cover sheet to help protect my faux leather from getting press lines. And then here, I'll just drag this around. My little hubcaps, I connected those for you. There's our name, and then this is little dots from the Christmas tree, and I've connected those for you as well. So just go through and sort of optimize the placement on every mat. Now here on our faux leather mat, if you are cutting both sides from the same piece of faux leather, like a print, then put them next to each other. If you're cutting from two different types of faux leather, then you can put one on one side of your mat and one on the other. And once we've gone through and optimized all of our mat placements, you can click Continue. And I want to click on my faux leather mat because I like to cut that one first. And I use the faux leather paper thin setting, which is right here. I have mine bookmarked as a favorite, but if you don't, you can click on Browse All Materials and search for it. If you're using the Explore Air 2, you'll need to turn your dial to custom before you can find this setting when you search. But for this one, I'll be using faux leather paper thin with more pressure and just the regular fine point blade. And then all of the other heat transfer vinyl layers, I recommend cutting those using the manufacturer's recommended cut settings for the brand and the type of heat transfer vinyl that you're using. Okay, let's hop over to my overhead camera. We'll get all of our materials cut out and I'll show you how to press and then glue our ornament. So I've got my purple strong grip mat ready to go, and I've trimmed my faux leather down to a size that's just slightly larger than the circles that are going to cut. I have the pretty print for the front and I have just a piece of white faux leather for the back. I'm going to flip these over and place them on my purple strong grip mat, right in that spot that I saw my shapes are going to cut in the mat preview screen. Then what we want to do is press these well with our fingers all over, and then use some blue painter's tape to tape these down on all sides. And I like using blue painter's tape because it doesn't leave a residue on your mat or on your material, and it helps keep this material from shifting while cutting. So I have my faux leather paper thin cut setting with more pressure all ready to go. I'll just load the mat into the Cricut and begin the cut. So the faux leather mat has cut one time, and it's a very simple shape, but I always like to check the cut before I unload the mat. And I just use my sharp weeding tool to sort of lift up the edge there. If your cut went through all the way, that's great. You can unload your mat. But if you need to repeat your cut, if your faux leather is like pulling down or sticking a little bit, then you can do that as many times as necessary just by pressing that cut button again, as long as you haven't unloaded your mat. But these look good, so I will unload the mat and remove my shapes. Remember, there is a little hole at the top for the ornament ribbon. So we just have our two shapes here. And because this project has so many heat transfer vinyl layers, I'm going to return to Design Space now off camera and cut out all of the vinyl layers and weed them so they're ready to go. So when I'm done with that, I'll come right back and I will show you how to press all of the layers onto the faux leather, and then we'll glue and finish our ornament. Okay, so I've gone ahead and cut and weeded all of the heat transfer vinyl layers for this project. We've got all the car elements, we've got the tree and all the tree ornaments, and then we've got the name. So the first thing that we want to press is the little car, because that's the center and everything else fits around it. But it's important that when we press the car, we place it in the right spot so there's room for the tree on top and there's room for the name on the bottom. So let me show you how we figure out where to press it. And what I like to do is something I call dry fitting, and it's where I take my little layers of heat transfer vinyl and I sort of place them down in order, and then I can see that they're all going to fit before I start pressing. So I put my little car where I think it's going to go. Then I'm going to take my little tree layers. And for this, it's really good to have your artwork pulled up in Design Space so that you can see how these little layers fit together. But our little tree goes like that on top of the car. So we'll kind of put that on top of the car. This isn't permanent, it's just sort of figuring out where everything goes. And then if that's where the little tree goes, I think that tree's a little too close to the edge here. So we've got the tree on the car, we want to keep that there. Let's bring that car down a little bit more. I also want it to be nice and even and centered with that little hole. So let's try that. And then if that's where our car is, let's put our tires, and then let's make sure that our name fits. And I think that's going to work. So make any little adjustments you need to. Once you've got everything in place, then you can go ahead and just peel off every layer that's not the car layer. And then our car will be where it needs to be. So now that we've dry fit all of our layers and I have my little car in position, it's time to start pressing. So I'm going to cover it with my little cover sheet. And I have my Easy Press Mini set to the low setting, which is that first green line. If you're using an Easy Press Mini or a regular heat press, I would set it to 265 degrees. And all I'm going to do is press for about 7 to 10 seconds. And when you're finished pressing, you'll want to very carefully and slowly peel back this clear carrier sheet and just look for any lifts or any ridges or bumps in your vinyl, which would tell me that it's not pressed all the way. But this is looking pretty good. Now, if I did see any lifting, I could just place my clear carrier sheet right back down very carefully and press some more. But that looks pretty good. And then now we can just go and start either the tree layer or the rest of the tires. Let's do that. Let's do the tires on the car first. So I'm just lining these up. Cover and press. Let's see, now I'll do the little center of the tire. There's the little car. Now I'll do the tree on top. The tree is in two pieces and it just sort of rests on the top of the car. I like to put them together again to make sure where they're going to fit. And then dry fit them on the top again. Remove the top layer and just press the bottom one. So we've got our little car and our tree, and now all I need to do is press the name and then press the ornaments. Now for the ornaments, I suggest looking back at the art in Design Space. They are all connected, and I did connect them so that it might be easier for you to place them. But honestly, if your ornament colors are different than the ones in Design Space, it might be a little confusing. You can just kind of play with these and move them around and place them wherever you'd like. Really, I just kind of went through and put them wherever I wanted to on my little trees for the samples. You can also trim these apart if you'd like and press them individually. So there's our fully pressed ornament front. Isn't that cute? Now you can see that it's starting to curl a little on the edges, and that's because faux leather, when it's warm, it starts to curl. So I'm going to place this right underneath my heat pressing pad while we get ready to glue, and that's going to help it cool nice and flat. So the next thing we need is to glue the front and the back together. And I get a lot of questions about what's the best glue, and I also get questions about why doesn't the glue work and stick the two pieces of faux leather together very well. And that's because it's really not about the glue. Even though I love my Beacon Fabri-Tac, I use this because it's very thin and spreadable. But the secret to getting a really good seamless edge when you glue faux leather together, a really nice tight edge like this, is pressing the glued items under something heavy. So I have my heavy book here, and what I'm going to do is just take my Fabri-Tac, and what I want to do is place glue all over the back of my faux leather shape, the bottom shape. I want to get close to the edge, but not all the way to the edge. And we'll just fill in this whole back here with glue. Then we'll take our pressed front shape and just place that right on top, line up the hole, and line up the edges. You can pick it up, kind of manipulate it with your fingers a little bit, just to get all those edges lined up. And then you just place this underneath your heavy book for about an hour, and then your ornament will be nice and flat and firm and stiff. And then you can use any craft ribbon of your choice, and you can just make a little tie here and a pretty bow at the top, and you've got your ornament. You could also put some heat transfer vinyl on the back if you wanted to put the year maybe, or some more information, maybe a family name. I think this is a really fun and cute personalized project, perfect for Christmas. I hope you enjoyed this project, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.